The
Yo, that's
stables.
crazy. They would just be getting sieged on, and then people would just be going about their day. Hey, so how was your day? Just sipping tea on people, bruh. That's crazy. I would want to see like a little documentary section of a city under siege, or like a castle under siege, and what their daily life inside like the main part was while they were actively getting sieged. Like, were they tripping? Were they chilling? Was it like the Bossing Say type thing where they were like, "Yo, we're gonna drill through the walls," and then all that stuff was going on outside? Yo, what's good? Today we got another video today. It's a nice chill Saturday morning. I was watching some regular show earlier. It's October right now. I was watching the regular show Halloween specials. It was pretty cool. It was dope. If y'all shout out to y'all if y'all know about regular show and y'all used to watch it. Me and my brother used to watch that all the time. It was cool. But we're watching today the genius design of medieval castles. Well, let's get into it. It's by Deconstructed. Make sure you go ahead and like the video, drop a subscription. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and subscribe to Young Deconstruction, and let's get into it. Deconstructed.
In the age of knights and kings, nothing commanded power like the medieval castle. More than a home, it was a fortress, armed with layered defenses to keep enemies at bay. A drawbridge that could rise in an instant, leaving only the black waters of the moats below. A portcullis of iron and wood, ready to slam shut in the attacker's path, and murder holes raining danger from above. In this video, we've modeled the ultimate medieval castle, from the outmost walls to the heart of the castle, to reveal the engineering that made it nearly impossible to take.
It's gonna be like Minecraft.
But before we get into it, I'm Lion, and this is Deconstructed. We break down the engineering behind history's most fascinating and today's most advanced machines and structures. So let's see how it all works. The product of a feudal world, the medieval castle was built during the Middle Ages by royalty, nobility, and powerful military orders. More than just stone walls, it was a fortified private residence, a stronghold for defense, an administrative hub, and the seat of daily life for those within its protection. In the 9th century, the Carolingian Empire, founded by Charlemagne, united much of Western and Central Europe under a single Christian rule, spanning present-day France, Germany, northern Italy, and parts of Eastern Europe. But when the empire collapsed in the late 9th century, central authority crumbled, and power splintered into the hands of regional lords and nobles. It was in this fractured landscape that castles emerged, localized power centers where nobles could protect and govern their lands. Under the feudal system, land was exchanged for loyalty and military service, and castles became the physical embodiment of that bond. Facing constant threats from Magyars, Muslims, and Vikings, defense was paramount, and location was everything.
Magyars?
To maximize visibility, castles were often built on elevated terrain, overlooking key rivers and trade routes. The earliest castles in medieval Europe, built from the 10th century and onwards, were simple motte and bailey designs, a wooden tower on a raised mound with a lower bailey enclosed below. During the 12th century, a scientific approach to castle defense emerged, and castle building entered its golden age. Driven by the ambitions of the Norman rulers, these fortifications grew from simple timber structures into massive stone strongholds, with thick curtain walls, fortified gatehouses, and flanking towers. At their heart stood the Stone Keep, the ultimate refuge. In this video, we'll focus on the most advanced form of the medieval castle, the concentric fortress, combining the most iconic features into one detailed reconstruction. While no two castles were identical, our model blends elements from the 11th to 14th centuries to create the ultimate medieval stronghold. Before we jump inside, a quick note: we've put together a medieval castle collection to go with this video, and it's discounted for a limited time. I'll share more about that later.
Collection? What does that mean?
Now let's follow the path an attacking force would face when attacking the ultimate castle, advancing step by step towards the heart of the castle. Before making it inside the castle walls, the first obstacle would be the Barbican, a fortified gateway positioned in front of the main entrance, designed to expose attackers to defensive fire before they even reach the main gate. The gate itself was built of thick timber reinforced with iron, capable of absorbing relentless battering at what was often the most targeted point of attack. From the inside, it was secured by a massive drawbar. a thick wooden beam that locked the doors in place. The beam sat in deep sockets carved into the stone walls on either side of the entrance. To secure the gate, the beam was slid from one socket across the door and into the other, bracing it against impact. Towering overhead, the battlements formed a defensive crown, a parapet cut with evenly spaced gaps called embrasures or crenels. Between them stood the merlons, solid stone shields for the defenders above. From here, they could dart out to fire arrows or drop projectiles, then vanish back into cover. Behind the battlements ran the wall walk, an elevated path accessible by stairs or ladders, allowing defenders to rush along the ramparts and reinforce any point that came under siege. From the wall walk, the battlement towers loomed higher still, giving defenders sweeping views and deadly attack angles. From these elevated positions, they could sweep the walls with flanking fire, hitting anyone trying to approach or scale them. Sometimes set into the merlons were narrow vertical openings called arrow slits, secured firing points that allowed archers or crossbowmen to strike while staying almost entirely hidden. Some were shaped to suit specific weapons and tactics, and in places, wooden shutters offered yet another layer of defense between shots. But even the strongest defense mechanisms can be tested. Just recently, there was a security scare at Windsor Castle, an intruder making it past security before being stopped. There were a variety of headlines like "Intruder arrested on the grounds of Windsor Castle" and "Man arrested at Windsor Castle for trespass drug possession." The thing is, the same story can be told in completely different ways, and it's easy to miss half the picture without even realizing it. I like being able to see how multiple outlets report the same event, how certain words can subtly change the tone, and even which details, like the mention of drug possession or Prince William, are included or left out, which is why I use Ground News, an app and website that shows...
Yo, you snuck that one in there. Get your money, though.
Alright, back to the castle.
Alright.
Breaking the Barbican defense was no guarantee to progress for enemies. The moat, a deep white ditch often filled with water, encircled the fortress like a final warning. It stopped siege towers and battering rams long before they could touch the outer walls, forcing attackers to first fill it with earth just to get within striking distance. The moat also served another purpose. It made undermining nearly impossible, blocking the tactic of digging underneath the castle walls to collapse them using a wooden framework that was then set on fire. With the moat stretching out before the gate, the only direct path to the outer gate was across the drawbridge. Built as a heavy wooden deck hinged at the gatehouse threshold, it could be raised or lowered to control entry. In its most common form, chains attached to the outer end ran through pulleys above the gate, operated by a windlass in the room above the passage. When raised, the bridge folded up flush against the gatehouse, becoming yet another barrier between enemies and the castle. Only lighter bridges could be lifted this way, without any counterweight assistance. For larger, heavier bridges, a counterweight system was often added. As the windlass turned to raise the deck, the counterweights descended inside the gatehouse, offsetting the bridge's weight and making the lift far easier. Another approach was the bascule bridge. In this design, the bridge extended into the gate passage and over a pit. When raised, the inner section swung down into the pit, assisted by a counterweight beneath the bridge. Chains attached to the inner end and operated by a windlass in the room above allowed it to be lowered or raised smoothly. This setup also prevented the bridge from flipping if someone stepped on its inner end, while the pit itself created an extra obstacle for anyone trying to cross.
That's so cool.
By the 14th century, a simpler variant emerged. Like the first and second types, it used chains, but these were fixed to pivoting arms called gaffs, mounted above and parallel to the bridge. These arms extended back into the gatehouse, where heavy counterweights were mounted on their inner ends. This balanced the bridge so well it could be raised or lowered by hand. When lifted, the arms locked neatly into slots in the gatehouse wall, holding the bridge securely in its upright position. With the drawbridge lowered, attackers could rush straight into the next trap, the outer gatehouse. This fortified gateway controlled access to the outer bailey, the first open courtyard inside the
Kinda like a
castle
trap.
walls.
Yeah, it is a trap.
At its
like you
entrance
said.
stood another massive wooden
like you can
gate,
get through it,
secured
but
from
leave when
within
you want
by a
to.
heavy bar lock, a thick wooden beam resting across the door,
'Cause what's on
held
the
in
other
place by sturdy metal brackets. Up above, battlements like at the Barbican crowned the structure, while machicolations jutted out from the wall. These floor openings set between stone supports, called corbels, allow defenders to drop stones and arrows on anyone trapped below.
Oh, yo.
There were also arrow slits on the second floor of the gatehouse. Some gatehouses were even built as half towers, open at the rear so that if attackers broke through, they couldn't hold the position. Instead, they'd be exposed to fire from the walls and towers deeper inside the castle.
Yo.
In a siege like this one,
That's
defenders might add
diabolical.
temporary wooden structures on top of the
they
wall
can't even hold the
battlements
position
called
then.
hoardings. Through arrow slits in the walls and holes
can't
in the
even stand on
floor,
business if
they
they
could
wanted
fire
to.
down on attackers at the base. These worked much like machicolations. Though being wooden, they were vulnerable to fire, which is why defenders sometimes covered their roofs with wet animal hides to resist flaming arrows. Even the base of the wall works against attackers. The talus, an outward sloping section of stone, also called the batter or plinth,
crazy.
would
Yeah,
blunt
it's
the
funny.
impact of battering rams, push scaling ladders into
It's funny how like simple warfare was back in the day. Simple but complex at the same time, because it's like, on the one hand, you have all these like complex mechanisms and traps that they design, and on the other hand, you just have people like putting fire on arrows for more damage, and people using like wet fur to like stuff out the fire. It's just like, yeah, you got fire. Okay, we'll just drench some water on this and throw it on the roof and resist it. Like, just a simple solution for something that could have wreaked so much havoc. It's interesting.
angles where they were more likely to
Very
break and stop siege towers from getting close enough to deploy their drawbridges. Should the outer defenses fall, the next objective for any attacking force was the inner gatehouse, the final and most heavily fortified gateway in the castle. This four-story stronghold controlled access to the inner bailey, where the keep stood,
Four-story.
and its arched gate passage was flanked on both sides by massive semicircular towers. High above the entrance, many of the same defense mechanisms used at the Barbican and outer gate were deployed. Machicolations allowed defenders to drop stones and arrows onto anyone below. Battlements provided cover for archers, while arrow slits cut
had
into
the
the
whole thing
towers
planned
gave
out
them clear firing angles
every
on the
level of
enemy's
penetration.
approach. Just inside the entrance stood another heavy wooden gate, and beyond it the portcullis, a massive gridded barrier of wood and iron, running in vertical grooves on either side of the passage. At its base, sharp metal spikes were designed to crush anyone caught beneath as it dropped. The portcullis was attached to chains running through pulleys above, operated by a windlass in the room over the passage. Counterweights also helped balance the load. In an emergency, defenders could release the chain to let it slam down under its own weight with deadly force. Passing through
Yeah,
the
that's like
gatehouse
that,
passage along the center of the
Rancor
gatehouse
level force,
would
the
be even
Rancor
more
pit,
dangerous.
gate force.
Narrow and enclosed, it funneled attackers into a confined space where they would be targeted from above and from both sides. Many castles had two or more portcullises, trapping attackers between them. In this killing zone, they would be bombarded through murder holes in the ceiling. Openings between the portcullises where rocks, arrows, bolts, or boiling oil could rain down.
Boiling
Arrow
oil.
slits in the side rooms also allowed defenders in nearby rooms to fire into the passage as well. Inside the gatehouse, the first level often housed a dungeon, or oubliette, which is French for to forget. This underground
Whoa.
prison cell had a narrow opening at the top with a wider
Forget?
chamber below and was
So
only
once you get in
accessible
there, you're
from
done.
above
Ain't
through a
nobody gonna hear
trapdoor.
from you.
Guard
Ever.
rooms could be placed on both sides of the
won't be remembered.
gatehouse, manned by soldiers ready to defend the gate from within. The second level typically served as an armory, storing weapons, armor, and siege supplies. Above that, the third level held the barracks, the communal living quarters for the guards who kept watch over the castle's most critical gateway. The inner gatehouse was a fortified doorway within the castle's strongest line, the inner curtain wall. Taller and thicker than the outer wall, sometimes exceeding 10 meters in height, it was built to dominate the space around it. From the wall walk along its top, defenders protected by battlements could fire down not only on attackers outside, but also on those who had managed to get into the inner bailey. The wall's strength came from its construction. Two outer layers of stone packed with rubble and mortar between them. Hidden within its length was sometimes the postern gate, a small, often concealed doorway at the rear, allowing defenders to slip in and out unseen, perfect for messengers, scouts, or counterattacks. At regular intervals along the curtain wall rose the wall towers, reinforcing the defense just as the Barbican towers had before. From these elevated positions, defenders could unleash flanking fire along the walls, striking any force trying to approach or scale them. Each tower was topped with battlements, and arrow slits cut into the walls allowed archers to shoot while staying protected. Inside, the towers were multi-level structures. Some floors might store food, wood, projectiles, and tools, while others could house armories, guard rooms, or barracks. The towers came in different shapes, each with distinct strengths and weaknesses. Square towers were easier and faster to build, and offered larger interior space, but their corners were structurally weak, making them more vulnerable to undermining or battering, and flat walls were more easily damaged by projectiles. Round towers solved many of these issues. Their curved surfaces deflected projectiles and resisted tunneling better, but they were more complex and time-consuming to build, with less interior space. D-shaped towers offered a compromise, a curved, exposed side with the defensive advantages of a round tower, paired with a flat rear that was easier to construct, though it still retained some of the square tower's vulnerabilities. Inside the inner bailey, daily life continued even under siege. This open space, enclosed by the inner curtain wall, was where much of daily life and work took place. The stables.
That's crazy. They would just be getting sieged on, and then people would just be going about their day. Hey, so how was your day? Just sipping tea on people, bro. That's crazy. I would want to see like a little documentary section of a city under siege, or like a castle under siege, and what their daily life inside, like the main part was while they were actively getting sieged. Like, were they tripping? Were they chilling? Was it like the Ba Sing Se type thing where they were like, yo, we're going to drill through the walls, and then all that stuff was going on outside, and then everyone inside the inner rings just didn't know what was going on. They didn't care. They didn't even, there was no like acknowledgement of it because they didn't even know. I wonder.
Kept the castle's horses ready, vital for transport, communication, and mounted defense. Workshops for blacksmith, carpenters, and other craftsmen maintained weapons, armor, and the castle itself. The kitchen stored food and prepared meals for soldiers, servants, and laborers, while the chapel provided a place of worship, keeping faith close to home in a world where religion shaped daily life. At the center, the well offered a reliable source of fresh water, ensuring the castle could endure even the longest siege without surrender. Reaching this point meant the siege had broken through nearly every defensive line, leaving only the keep. The keep, also called the dungeon, not to be confused with the dungeon, was the castle's ultimate stronghold, a massive, multi-story fortified tower, often the largest and strongest in the entire fortress. By the late 12th century, stronger curtain walls and rounded towers made keeps unnecessary, with main rooms moved into towers or separate buildings in the inner bailey. When the keep was still central to a castle's defense, it was both the lord's main residence and a last resort refuge if every other defense fell. Built with extra thick walls, few windows, and reinforced with four-corner towers that served as elevated lookout points and firing positions, it was designed to be nearly impossible to take. Most keeps were approached through a forebuilding, a fortified structure shielding the main entrance on the first floor above. Narrow stairs led up to a first-floor doorway, forcing attackers into a tight, easily
Yeah.
defended
They
space.
couldn't storm it.
Arrow slits lined the forebuilding,
And they got
and
clapped
some
up.
even included another drawbridge and their own gate to delay attackers. Inside, the keep rose floor after floor connected by spiral staircases built into the towers.
Ooh, those
These
keeps,
typically
bro.
ascended clockwise, a design that favored right-handed defenders coming down, their swords arms free, while cramping the swing of right-handed attackers climbing up. The ground floor or
Yo,
cellar
that's
stored the
crazy
provisions
work.
needed to survive
Left
a long
lefties,
siege.
though, me and my people, bro, we would be eating though, right? We'd be like, they'd be like trying to come down, be like, yeah. Just dodge to the right. Yeah. Lefty gang.
Dry goods, perishable food, wine, ale, and sometimes a well for
Hey,
fresh
if you're a
water.
lefty in the chat,
Some
say
keeps
what's
also
up.
had
Say
a
what's
kitchen
up, bro.
here,
Leave a comment.
reserved for preparing meals for the Lord's family and honored guests. The first floor, the entrance level, was dominated by the Great Hall, where the Lord conducted business,
they eat.
hosted meetings, and held grand feasts. Often the largest room in the keep, it sometimes spanned 2 stories with a soaring ceiling. Above, on the second floor gallery, a mural walkway ran within the thickness of the walls, its windows bringing light into the hall below. If the hall was breached, defenders could use this gallery to fire down on attackers from above.
You know, I kind of want to know what the acoustics are like in a keep. Like, I kind of want to visit one of these areas, like one of these historical castles, and just like listen to the acoustics. I bet they were like super good. Not gonna lie, like surrounded by all that like dense material. That's the things you think about as a voiceover artist. But I wonder.
Guest chambers for important
Granted, it was a lot of like. It did have like flat, like it had like perforations because it's obviously not an even surface for the sound to bounce around. So I wonder, like, because it's obviously like jagged rock, a lot of places gonna be, right, and the wooden floors and whatnot. But it's gonna be interesting. I want to hear what that sounds like.
visitors were located on the 3rd
People were
floor.
probably
On
able
the
to
same
whisper
level
really
was
well
the
and keep
solar,
secrets.
the private living and sleeping quarters for the Lord and
What's
his
name, Lord
family.
Varys?
This floor also contained the private chapel,
little bird.
reserved for their use, as well as the garderobes, from the French for wardrobe. Simple toilets where waste dropped down vertical shafts into pits, or in some cases directly into the moat.
Yo,
At the very top,
into
the keep's
moat is
battlements
crazy.
and wall walks offered a commanding
But
view
it's
of the
efficient, I
surrounding
guess. But what happens,
countryside
like, does
and
it
one
break down?
last elevated line.
I want to know, like, is that efficient sewage? Is that just efficient sewage? Like, huh? So if it goes into the moat, right, is the moat flowing or is it still? If it's like still, does it even break down? Does it break down into the soil below or something? Like, what's the deal with that? Like, the waste, what does it do? I bet it smells terrible then if that's the case, right? It has to smell so bad because it has to take time for it to like break down, right? I don't know how long it takes for that, but hey, it's better than going into like random pits. I feel like because at least you have that like water barrier from it. It can break it down some. But if it's just going into a pit, ugh.
Of defense. If the keep fell, the siege would be over. Defenders captured, banners torn down. Nor fortress could hold out forever. By the 15th century, a new threat emerged that no portcullis, wall, or tower could truly withstand.
Cannonballs.
Gunpowder artillery transformed warfare, reducing once impenetrable stone fortifications to rubble under the thunder of cannon fire. By the 16th century, the medieval castle was militarily obsolete.
Obsolete.
In its
yeah.
place rose artillery forts with low, angled walls to deflect cannonballs and earthen ramparts from moat excavations to absorb their impact.
Yo, that's cool, but like I want to know like I wonder what it was like. I want to see a thing of like the first medieval castles to get like pulled up on by people with cannons and cannonballs and stuff, and they're just like, yo, they're just like, man, we see all them out there. They got what, like a couple hundred dudes out there, man. They ain't doing nothing, bro. They really about to pull up to our castle, think they hot, and then they're just like posted up, chilling and whatnot. And then dudes pull up forward. They start rolling the cannon forward, right? And they're like, what's that? That's probably just some arrows or something. That ain't nothing. And then Then he lights it up, and he's like, "Huh?" And then that junk fires towards the wall and just obliterates the outer layer. And then dude's just looking like, I want to see that. I want to see that. I bet you they were just straight tripping the whole time. Like, what? Who let them have that? How did they get that? What in the world? Our whole stuff is done. We're cooked.
Built purely for war, they offered no role as a noble residence. The nobility shifted to chateaus, grand estates designed for comfort, aesthetics, and prestige over defense. Some castles survived as residences or administrative centers. Others were abandoned, fell into ruin, or were repurposed as prisons. Today, castles stand as more than just relics of war. They are enduring symbols of medieval ingenuity, social hierarchy, and cultural identity. Monuments to a time when stone walls were both the heart of a home and the edge of a battlefield. We've put together a medieval castle poster, desk mat, and a hoodie to go with this video. For the next 7 days only, they're all 10% off. And we're giving one poster away. To enter the giveaway, like the video, subscribe, and comment below. What surprised you the most about medieval castles? We'll announce the winner in the next upload.
That's gonna be the video though. Hey, if y'all liked it, let me know. Do y'all think y'all could, if you got any architects in the chat, let me know down below. Leave a comment. Say, you know, your appreciation or like whatever flaws you see in the medieval castles. Could you make one better in the modern day? That would be kind of cool. I want to see some designs on that if y'all are, you know, interested in sharing. But with that said, that's going to be the video. Let me know if y'all liked it. Go ahead and comment down below as we said. Go ahead and subscribe to me. Subscribe to...
or you can just grab one. The link is...
If you're interested, I'm definitely interested in these types of videos. So if you're interested too, don't go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to be doing some more of these for sure. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.